we have Jennifer, and she will walk us through some hard-learned agency lessons. She's been working with WordPress for over 15 years, leading digital projects with teams across Germany and the US. And 8 years ago, she co-founded a white label, a WordPress agency, and she now helps teams bring order to chaos through better workflows and structure. She's here today to share a few agency missteps and the valuable lessons that came out of them. And if you'd like to chat more, she will be at WordCamp Cafe right after her talk. Welcome, Jennifer Aguilera Schumacher with 3 WordPress Agency Fs and what I learned from them. Give her a big hand.
Oh, I don't have a clicker. Wait a second. There we go. Well, thanks for having me today. Before actually getting started, I wanted to make sure that I admit something. Yes, I've been working in WordPress with WordPress for more than 15 years, collaborating with agencies, leading teams, but I still see so many projects where things go bad and then great people get frustrated and demotivated. And to be honest, or let's say my embarrassing part here, is that for more than 10 years, I have been an active part of that problem. I accepted the chaos, I worked more hours than what I was actually billing for. And in the end, to be honest, it is not something that just costs budget and time, it costs you. It costs your joy, your energy, your motivation, and also it costs the presence that you have to be with your loved ones when you come home. So there was one particular evening where I was sitting on a couch and I actually wanted to, talk to my very patient husband, trying to unload again all of my frustration. And that particular night, it ended up in a very frustrating discussion. We actually had a bit of a fight, and he said something that shook me so deeply. That was for me such a, I didn't want to hear it. I was like so in shock. And I actually want to tell you what happened that night, but before actually going to that story, I want to share a few F-ups, like stuff that happened, and walk you through 3 real-life situations and how the hell I got out of this mess. So the first one, actually a bit connected to my colleague's talk earlier, was about web support that drains your soul. So there was an agency that I work with. Their main business is about support retainers. It's not the projects per se. So there were so many retainers, so many projects and clients to take care of. But every request went through the project manager, everything. I was like the single point of contact. But it was the most stressful, frustrating PM position I've ever had. I was all over the place. My email box was full. I was creating the ticket, coming back to the client, then back to the developer, following up, back and forth, and again and again. And I really hated support. I was really frustrated. I didn't want to do it anymore. And there were 2 options. Just, stick with it, or find a solution, and then, move on. And just to give you a bit of an impression how I felt like, yep, maybe some of you know how that's like, another slap in the face, again, losing time, you're not finishing what you're working on, moving on. And when you get smacked in the face so often, then, we have to change something. So what did we do? We made sure that I'm not anymore in the middle. I was sick of that, not happening anymore. We established first and second level support, so actual devs responding to these tickets. We set something up, a help center in Jira Service Management, so the requests come by that tool. And then what we also did, we stopped working on these tiny quotes, like, hey, I need an item that's 3 hours. Can you just quote me and offer me a 3-hour item? Nope. You either get a monthly budget or a budget that's a block of hours, and we just work based off of budgets. And the other cool thing we did is we set up an automatic reporting. They get a report every month. That's your budget. That's how much you have been spending. That's how much is left. And we pull in automatically from Jira all the tickets that are done. So I do not need to go back to them for all those details either. The next story is about the design handoff from hell. So we were subcontracted by a design agency, and the dev budget and everything was prepared in advance. They came to us. We said, OK, let's go. The design files were in .txt. We continued, started, and noticed, oh my God, there's so many things that are off. And basically, that's how we felt in that situation. We had at the end so many rounds of revisions, and this was off. The font size is different on the mobile screen, on desktop screen, such a big mess, to be honest. But because we did not communicate in advance, because we did not have a review before doing that, we ended up covering for the project. And that's super embarrassing, I know. I didn't lose profit only. I had to pay on top at the very end just to wrap things up. Very embarrassing. But yeah, that happened. So what we did is we said, that's not going to happen again. Let's set up our standard Figma. How do we want things to be? How do we need things to be? So variables, tokens, how do we hand things over? How do we make this perfect for development? Notes, everything. We made a handover checklist. What is the process here? How do we need this? And if we do not have a review, we're not going into development. It's part of our offer. So we check, hey, we have the times for reviewing the design, preparing everything, and only when that's done, yes, now we can move on. Now the last one is a classic story, right? You work, work, work. At the end, you bill less, and you're expected to still keep smiling. So that's an agency that I worked with. They went repeatedly over budget here and there, but they kind of try to hide it and push it a bit under the table. And they had a problem setting boundaries. There was not enough communication. And there was one freelancer they hired. And that guy was also, I'm sure, pretty frustrated about everything. And then suddenly he disappeared. And the agency just didn't notice until 1 week before the actual client demo. And then he called me and said, oh my God, I'm panicking. I need your help. What can we do? OK, let's breathe. And I asked my colleague if he could jump in, if there's something we can do. We also agreed on a bonus, because he started on the weekend just to help last minute. And then that bonus was never really paid. It was more like, oh, we do it in the next project, so he can hide it in the next project, because this was not accounted for in this one. And this was just, for communication, an entire issue. And that's how my colleague felt. Yep, let's say it was not easy, but this is real. People hide this. There's silent expectations for many developers and freelancers that are contracted agencies. You shouldn't be logging this because they're out of budget in theory. And it doesn't mean that they're per se bad people, but they do not have a great base for communication. And what we did is we check, OK, how can we make these offers complete with more boundaries so that we know where we're at. And then the next part, offers one thing. We need to have a statement of work, and everybody needs to know this statement of work, not just the client, the PM, the account manager, also the dev. What are we doing here? What is part of the entire project? What's going to be done here? And then the other thing that I really like to do that has helped me immensely were monthly status reports. So we do a report every 3 weeks-ish, where we have or copy the content from our statement of work, add checklists, and then we copy the report and always add a note, like how are things going, what could go wrong, what is our budget looking like. And that enables us to be great communicators in advance. Now, I think we can go back to that couch, because as I mentioned earlier, I had a bit of a fight with my husband that day. And the thing is, the truth is, I brought all that frustration always to our marriage. And he said that night that I was addicted to that stress and chaos. And I really hated that. Did I really want that my life is that for the next couple of 20, 30 years or something? And it was true, I had normalized the entire chaos. This is just how agencies work. It's not. And it took me more than 10 years to realize that. And to be honest, life is too short for more of those fuck-ups. Oh, for more of those F-ups. Didn't say that. One last thing, I just want to give or share before I go. I think it's great to learn from others. I have learned a great deal just asking other people how they do things. So if you scan this, you find a couple of materials, like standard templates. There's nothing to it. There's no sign up. There's no nothing. It just says, like, good luck. If you can use something, use it. And I wish you a wonderful day. And don't let that kind of stuff happen. You can do better.